Hey, fourth graders, it's Mrs. Long, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about what you need to do on your expository essay in order to have just the best score possible. So if you remember when we talked about the opinion essay, we said that this rubric is a bit like a checklist, okay? And so essentially what you want to do is you want to go through your essay and make sure you have all of these things checked off so you know you have everything that your essay needs. If you look at a rubric over here, it talks about what the score points mean. So remember, each of these sections, you can earn up to 4 points. So you're going to earn 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4 points in each of these sections: your purpose and structure, your development, and your language. And this is going to look very similar to your opinion essay rubric, where a level 4 would be above grade level. A level 3 would be within the range of grade level. Level 2 is approaching grade level. A level 1 would be below grade level. And if you notice that a 0 would just mean it's not there. Okay, so you don't want to be down here. Right here it's talking about like it's absent or it's vague or it's confusing. Those are not things you want to check. You don't want to have an essay that's confusing or things are missing. So what you're really wanting to do is to check off at least the level 3s, but really, why not aim for level 4s? Okay, try and check these off and see if you can do those things. So you want to think, okay, first of all, remember we talked about your thesis statement. That's your central idea statement. That's what your whole essay is about. Your central idea is focused on the task, that means on the prompt, and it's consistently maintained throughout. That means that your essay stays focused on the prompt. You don't go off on a tangent talking about something else, okay? So in this essay, you're writing about the space industry and how it impacts Florida. You're not going to go off on a tangent for like 3 or 4 paragraphs telling a story. You can add a little bit of elaboration that's telling about an experience maybe that you had at Kennedy Space Center, or that you have maybe with a parent working for an engineering company that makes things for the space agency, or maybe you have somebody that you know that's in Space Force or something like that. You can add that in as elaboration, but it shouldn't be like 3 or 4 paragraphs of elaboration, if you know what I mean. Like it's 1 to 2 sentences like we've been talking about for elaboration. Your central idea is on how the space industry impacts the state of Florida. Okay. Your organizational structure, this next one, your organizational structure strengthens the response and allows for the advancement of the central idea. That means it's like a clear and logical organization structure. So if you follow how we designed it, where you have an introduction, you have your 3 examples, and then you have your conclusion, that's going to be an organizational structure that strengthens the response. If that's not what you have, if you forgot the introduction, you forgot the conclusion, or you don't have the body paragraphs, like let's just say you only have an introduction and conclusion, which I've seen before, that's not going to be an organizational structure that strengthens the response. You use varied transitional strategies to connect ideas within and among paragraph. These are your transition words. So you use transition words throughout the essay to help it move along. Remember, we want our car to be going down a nice smooth road, and that's what transition words do. Those are what makes the road smooth. They make the essay make sense. If without the transition words, essays tend to be choppy, which is like a bumpy road, and you don't want your reader going as you're going down your essay. All right. You have an effective introduction and conclusion to enhance the essay. If your introduction and conclusion is structured the way that we told you to do it in the lesson intro pages, then you're going to have an effective introduction and conclusion to enhance the essay. If you chose to just do your own thing for your introduction and conclusion, it may not be effective. And so you want to look back over the reason for the instruction and everything that we've been doing in the lesson intro pages, where we've been gradually building this essay, is so that you are able to check off everything under the level 4. All right. If you've been doing everything that we've been telling you to do all along the way, you should be getting 4 points for your purpose and structure, 4 points for your development, and 4 points for your language. Okay. So that's going to be really important. Make sure you're doing what we tell you to do. We're telling you to do it for a reason. Under development, skillful development understands a thorough understanding of the topic. Remember, maybe you don't know a whole lot about the space industry. Maybe you live up in Pensacola where, you're not really seeing rockets launch. I happen to live on the Space Coast. I happen to live within about 45 minutes of where the rockets go off. So that has a big impact on me. It has an impact on my day-to-day life. I see rockets go off all the time. It affects the traffic around where I live. Almost everybody that I know that lives around here works or knows somebody who works for the space industry in some way. So it's a really big deal where I live. Maybe you live someplace in Florida where it's not as big of a deal, and so you don't know as much about it. However, you're given three sources of information that give you lots of information to build background knowledge on the space industry. So use that information that you're given. Effective elaboration may include original student writing combined with, but may not be limited to, paraphrasing, text evidence, examples, definitions, narrative, or rhetorical techniques as appropriate to the support of the central idea. So let me just kind of go over some of these. Paraphrasing would be paraphrasing the text itself. One of the text evidence is like a direct quote. Examples, so maybe you can give specific examples. Remember, we talked about definitions where if you're using words or phrases that everybody doesn't understand, maybe you're explaining what those mean, and that's helping to support your idea. Narrative would be a personal experience. So, like for example, if I were writing about this, I would use that example. I live on the Space Coast, and so my day-to-day life is affected by the space industry. I know people who work for Space Force. I know people who design rockets and parts of rockets that are used in space. And we are able to go out in our front yard and actually watch the rockets go off. Okay, so that right there, it would be an example of narrative. Narrative is a personal story. The other, the rhetorical techniques is not really something that you're going to be doing in fourth grade, so I'm not really going to go over that. This rubric is used for fourth, fifth, and sixth grade, so that's more of like a sixth grade thing. Okay, so right there, though, those are different ways that you can elaborate. Remember, you should have 1 to 3 sentences of elaboration in every body paragraph. Smoothly integrated relevant evidence from multiple sources lends to credibility. What's that? Text evidence, text evidence, text evidence, text evidence. Every body paragraph has to have evidence from the text, whether it is a summary or whether it is a direct quote. You need to use text evidence to support your idea. If you say that the space industry helps to affect the economy or the money that Florida is making, you can't just say that without giving evidence. You have to prove it. Remember, an expository or explanatory or informational essay is all about information. It's all about facts. Give facts from the sources, because that's going to be like good, solid factual evidence. And make sure that that evidence is cited in source one, or the author. You can list the author's name, or you could list the title of the source. Okay. All of those are ways to cite the source, but tell me exactly which source it came from. Don't just drop a quote. Don't just drop information from the text. Tell me which text you found that information from. All right. So this last section, the language section, is the one that we've worked on in our lessons the least. However, we have gone over this in editing. All right. Integration means you're including academic vocabulary. Think about some of those stronger vocabulary words that are in the texts that you use, your text evidence, right? Like I just said, it affects the economy. What is the economy? The economy is how Florida's making money, right? How people are earning money and spending money. That's what economy is. So that's a great, strong vocabulary word. Instead of just saying it affects the money in Florida, it affects the economy in Florida. It's an example. And we have a whole lesson in your lesson entry pages where you were supposed to go through and try and increase the vocabulary or find words that you could switch out to strengthen the vocabulary in your essay. skillful use of varied sentence structure. So again, not just simple sentences. We talked about this with opinion essays, not just simple sentences, but you have some more complex sentences as well. Your grammar, punctuation, capitalization, and spelling needs to be correct, and your tone or voice strengthens the overall response. So you have several days where you don't have anything new that you need to add to your essay. I want you to go through each of those days and check off. Maybe one of the days you check off your purpose and structure. Do I have all these things? One day you check off development. Do I have all these things? One day you check off language. Do I have all these things? If you don't have them, if you don't have all 4 of these things, we automatically have to drop down to a level 3. Well, do you have all 4 of these things? Oop, you have 1, 2, and 3, but you never cited your evidence. So now I have to drop down here. Ooh, lacks appropriate citations. So maybe you have logical development, and maybe you have elaboration, and maybe you have text evidence, but it's not cited. You can't earn a level 3 without your text evidence being cited. You would earn a level 2. Do you see that? Okay, so that's how this rubric is used, and that's how we're going to use this rubric to grade you. So it's really important that you look up here and you're like, do I have these things? Maybe sit down with your learning coach and have them read through your essay and say, do I have these things? Okay, it's really, really important. This is how we're going to be grading your essay. You can see the rubric on your lesson intro page as well. The actual rubric is linked there, so you can open it up, read through it on your own. But I wanted to explain it to you because I know rubrics are a little bit complicated, and so I wanted you to understand how it works. I cannot wait to read your expository essay. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.